Greetings, folks, and welcome to the last voyage of the Whale's Whiskers. If this is your first time joining us, we do run the channel 100% for charity. We're so glad that you're here. If you'd like to support what we support, down below you'll see a link to Satchel's Last Resort, which is a wonderful animal rescue organization here in Florida. And they take care of basically dogs and cats that are on their last chance before they would be put down. So they are a wonderful organization. It's where I got Lunar. If you follow me on social media, you've seen plenty of her pictures around everywhere. And please throw them your support if you are able, or just share their link out there and around would be great. Other thing I do want to let people know who are tuning in right at this moment is we are going to be delving into some of Halloran's ancestral magic. The Drow in this world do have a long tradition of blood magic, ritualistic self-harm, etc. So if those are things that you don't want to see or hear about, please use please be aware that we are going to be diving into that, and whenever we are, we'll be putting it up here on the screen so you can see. It won't be for the whole piece, but certainly our opening scenes are going to venture into that territory. With that out of the way, let's go around and meet our players. Unfortunately, Kuma is not with us tonight. She, again, if you followed social media, she broke her leg and is on some heavy-duty pain medication as it was just recently occurred. So they won't be joining us this evening. And Kato, we will deal with in story appropriately. Next up, we have Bird.
Hey folks, I'm Bird. I'll be playing Baldier the Wanderer, the currently Lil Loxodon Storm Sorcerer.
Next up is Meta.
Hi everyone, I'm Metaza. I'm going to be playing as Queta, the Dwarven Eldritch Knight fighter.
Next up, we have Grant.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Grant, and I play Halloran, our Drow Circle of Stars druid.
And then we have Ace.
Hi everyone, I'm Ace. I play Duron, our very warm and cheerful warlock.
Always warm and cheerful and known for all the sighing. All the sighing. And last but not least, we have Soul.
Hello everyone, I'm going to be playing Otrek. I am Soul. Otrek is our lizard folk artificer who is also small right now. Making him the small sausage.
And I'm Tall Squall. I am your DM for all of the fun and excitement. And I'm just happy to be here and glad that you all are joining us on our adventure. So, when we last left, an abrupt sound change. As always, with our mics and our music levels, please let us know in chat if they are out of balance or seem a little bit off. So that we can get those adjusted accordingly. Interesting. That music is not playing. Very interesting. Okay, we'll do this one. I might have lost all my music. That would not be good. Sorry, folks.
I can hear the music.
You can hear it, and I can't? Or no one can hear it? Or y'all
can hear it.
Y'all can hear it?
I can hear it on my end.
That's great. Seems as though our stream cannot, though. Anyway, I am going to reset my Roll20 while we're doing that, and we'll get back to that. But let's do a little catch-up on where we are in our story. So, over the last... since we've started up on Season 2, the party has recovered this corrupted shard of the sky with the intent to deliver it to Shimandala, this primordial dragon, who has kidnapped their cabin boy Fitz as a beast of collateral, and who also happens to be our good friend Duron's patron. After they recovered it and discovered that its corruption was in fact spreading to their ship, our good friend Otrek the Artificer sealed it away in a cask of lead embedded in salt, embedded in another barrel, and I don't think we quite got to like hanging it off the back of the ship, but it is belt and suspendered to be as safe and not affecting things as much as possible. As their journey took them, Duran pointed them in the right direction, which was up a river that they had seen, whose outflow was near the Vile Reef. And to navigate up this river, the Vile Reef sort of creating this vile shoreline on one side, the other side almost in a attempt to balance out the corruption of that side, had become this bountiful, lush rainforest jungle with oversized plants and animals and resources for the party to try to utilize. After a course of skill challenges, got some treasure, bumped into some things, burned some resources, but they've now found themselves locked in combat with a large kelp eel and these drakes who burst out of the underbrush, who seem to be, the way they feed is that they actually shrink their prey down small enough so that they can then swallow them whole. But before we get into that, we're going to back up just a little bit. We are going to back up to the night before. The night before, when everyone was heading to their long rest, and our friend Halran, after under the stars the previous evening, having been haunted by a vision, turned in as an elf for his meditation and for his trance. We're going to join him at around 4 a.m. of this morning, before they were traversing the river and ended up in this combat. We see Halran in his cabin, sort of pulling out of his trance. While it fulfilled the needs of restoring him, it was not restful to you, Halran. The shards of the vision from the night before remaining lodged in your memory. The river, the broken sword, the canyon with the dark current flowing towards the cave that then enveloped you, and then those eyes, those red arachnid eyes, haunted the tranquility of your meditation. That, and also the anticipation of what you knew you were going to attempt here in the darkness. Before starting your trance, you had prepared. For the second time in a long time, you retreated to your cabin and did something you don't often do. You locked the door, and then with your druid magics, across the seam, sealed it by growing the wooden planks together to make sure you wouldn't be disturbed. Upon the floor, you first etched out a large sigil of twisted runes of ancient languages, and then once again harnessing your druidic abilities, grew that sigil into a bramble of thorns, reflecting the shapes of the runes underneath. And satisfied, and perhaps not wanting to embark on this journey without at least a meditative contemplation of what you were going to do, you went into your trance and have now awakened. The rest of the ship still fast asleep. The brambles there and waiting. The lessons in your mind from your days back in the drow homeland of Thon Sangreal echoing in your mind.
Howron breathes deeply, kneeling before the thorny altar that he has created from the wood of the ship. And just as was the case during his trance, even now, still, the horrid eyes that he saw in the dark skies the night before continue to haunt him. And as conflicted as he is, he knows now he has to search for answers. He holds the amulet that he always wears around his neck in his right hand. The drow who fled to this world adopted the magic of their former home in accordance with their experiences, which were bloody. While Howron hasn't mastered the blood magic of the Thorn Weavers, who are the arcane practitioners of his people, he knows enough to try the ritual. Howron hopes to connect more with his ancestors and their memories of whatever this deity is that his people fled that seems to have found him here. Concern does fill his mind and heart, not least because the drow on this world at Thon Sangreal have been careful to erect wards and to limit their magic in order to avoid detection by their former tormentor, but it seems that the time for this concern is past. Halvaron stretches his arms out wide, releases his amulet, and exhales. His arms begin to shrink, and small nubs emerge. As his jaw distends and his legs begin to grow smaller, he closes his reptilian eyes. When they open again, he is a falcon, one of the variety native to his people's part of their new world. Howron then leaps off the ground and wheels a tight circle around his quarters before flying straight into the thorns. His eyes, still the reptilian adaptation that allows him to better deal with sunlight, close as he strikes the altar. The wings and torso of the falcon form are pierced by the thorns, and fresh blood flows onto the altar and onto the floor of his cabin. His wings distend, and he screeches once, quickly, as the magic holding his falcon form in place flows away along with his blood. He returns to drow form then, kneeling in the red pool in the middle of his room, with some of the thorns still embedded in his shoulders and arms.
And in that moment, even though your body returns, kneeling there in its drow form, still pierced by the thorns, your spirit does not. It has traveled in that space between forms, that moment of death of your wild shape before the reforming of your drow visage. Your spirit travels on one of the Thorn Weaver's most ancient rituals, a blood journey through your bloodline into the past of your ancestors to gain knowledge. Halran, you open your eyes, and you're in your cabin. You can't stop looking at your hands. It's as though they aren't even yours. They are numb, the flesh cold as you rub them together. And you can think about what you just experienced, the enormity of it, but it's like a dream fleeing from the light of the morning. Every detail right there, but slipping just as quickly through your fingers. And then a loud bang startles you out of your thoughts. And you, in the now, in the moment, hear what assumed pulled you back. The sound of fighting above deck. Your druidic nature knowing a vast amount of time has passed. It is afternoon outside. And you've been here, or there, or elsewhere for that duration. You hear another slam against the hull of the ship outside of your cabin, on the water side, not like the hallway. And the sounds of combat up above continue.
I grab my amulet off the floor where I dropped it earlier and rush out into the hallway and up the stairs.
You should be on the map. Let me get you pulled back in, and I'll have you roll initiative. And let's, as we're going to jump back into this combat.
I didn't click on the token.
It's okay. I can put it in there manually.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. 13. Okay, cool. Tell you what, click on the token and do it again. I'll just put the 13 in.
Sounds good.
Cool. Halran, as we actually were on 12 with the Drakes, 13 actually works out perfectly. So you come running upstairs. You witness right as you burst up upstairs this Drake and a shrunken version of Baldier almost being grabbed by it, and in an attempt to what appears like going to swallow it. As you come bursting up on deck, you do see the remnants of this large kelp eel, two of your friends in the water, Cato having gotten himself back up on deck, and you see him disappear down the front stairs to get away, having apparently had a close encounter with whatever creature was just defeated off of the starboard side. You can take sort of quick intake of sort of everything around you as you sort of pass Cato as he goes down the stairs, as you come up and emerge out onto the deck. Let's go ahead and let you take your turn. So if you can't see, these are the Drakes over here. Two are with Otrek. There's one more over here with Duron, and then there's one up that you just saw almost try to swallow Baldier. Otrek is a mini sausage right now, too.
Right. But seeing as Baldier was moments away from being swallowed, I would like to cast Dispel Magic on the shrinking effect.
Ooh, okay.
Is it 3rd level or lower?
I need to check, and I need to see whether it says it's like casting the spell or whether it's actually a physical effect. So just give me one second.
Sure.
I need to see if it says it allows them to cast, or whether it's just an effect that is similar.
Right.
It is actually not a magical effect, even though it appears to be. It is a venom.
Okay, fair enough. Not what I expected, but that's fine. Then I would like to cast Moonbeam, excuse me, as a 5th level spell. So if I could get a 5-foot radius circle, I don't think, I can't put those on there. I will cast it on the Drake next to Baldier.
On the Drake next to Baldier. Okay, go ahead and roll up that
but-
damage. Or is it a saving throw that I need to do, I believe?
Oh, actually, yeah, well, the way it's written, it's when a creature enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there. So it actually won't take effect.
Yeah, it won't take effect until it's their
starts,
turn.
yeah.
But yeah, so
Okay,
it can be bathed in it, yes.
Excellent. Great, then otherwise, I'm happy standing where I am. My magic can reach everything, so I will turn over the turn.
Cool. Baldier. I'll just put that circle there as the moonlight. Is that where you want it?
Thank you. Yeah, but it's actually only 5 feet in, or does that say radius?
It's a radius. Yeah.
5 feet radius, so
Thank you.
10
Perfect.
feet diameter.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah. Baldier, I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw. I'll let you do it at advantage because of what it is. Interesting. Okay. Baldier the Wanderer. You are known throughout all of Limehold and across the Ceradan Sea for your memory. Faces, places, tastes and sounds and smells, entrusted with the secret ingredients of many a recipe and nuance of preparation of some of the most famed and elusive cuisines from the Cloudvale Steppes. There's not a soul that you have guided through the vast network of caves under the limestone mountains that you can't recall or remember every moment with them. But as you see Halran emerge on deck and join the battle, you realize that since the moment you woke this morning from your long rest, and for the last 6 hours, right up until this moment, you had completely forgotten that Halran even existed. And it startles you. It throws you for a moment. In fact, I will let you tell me how that moment of, as you see Halran, your friend who you've traveled with for 100 years, and that he was completely no longer in existence in your memory, that there is this gap of you even being aware of his existence.
Yeah, I think Hauron comes up from below decks and does this move to, really help Baldier out in this pretty sketchy situation he's found himself in. And, seeing that, I believe he turns to his longtime compatriot and, goes to shout at him as he's done, good Lord, countless times by now. Friend. And it's this weird moment of it's an experience I think Baldier's never had before. The gap.
Yeah.
And it's almost staggers him a bit, I think. Kind of catches him off foot a little and stumbles for a sec before looking back up and kind of struggling to even finish his greeting. And realizing, the situation he's in, he shakes his head and just needs to figure out what the hell that is, but first needs to get out of this current situation.
Okay.
So he turns to these creatures that are attacking, and still in his very minuscule format, just calls out to them. Okay, enough distractions, enough delays, no more until the boy is home safe. And he is going to just take a little sidestep right here.
Okay.
And then very specifically, for a very certain reason, he's going to channel his, let me make sure I get the name of this absolutely correct, his Staff of Thunder and Lightning, and he's going to channel one of the daily charges it has to cast Lightning Strike. Long story short, it is a bolt of lightning that leaps from his staff. It's 5 feet wide and travels 120 feet. So basically, he's clutching the back end of his staff, the front as well, pointing it up, and just this bright light begins to emerge. And as he finishes challenging these creatures, it bursts forth. And to do the exact line, it is going to go from right here to right here. So it's going to at least hit 2. Oh, no, I think I can.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, with that.
Like that.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I can smack all 3 with it.
I would say you can smack all 3.
And for those wondering why I'm using the channel instead of the actual spell I have, the spell itself has some verbiage that states anything that's not worn or carried catches fire. And realizing I'm shooting this on a wooden ship, I'm going to go ahead and do the one that doesn't have that verbiage with it. So,
hey, I'm a fan.
So with those 3, I need a dexterity saving throw. It's a DC 17.
Dexterity saving throw. Dex. They do have some pretty good dex, but let's see how the dice fall. An 18.
Gotcha.
Ooh, a natural 20. And a 21. Looks like they all save, but assuming they still take half damage.
Yes, so they will take half of this. 15 points of damage.
Damn. Okay.
And yeah, that is what I got for my turn.
So the one of the ones in front of Otrek, as the lightning goes through, you just see it completely evaporate in this spark of lightning and thunder. In fact, it was the one that you had hit with lightning before. So, still sort of frayed from that, almost more conductive because of it. This lightning bolt goes shooting through. And while you would have liked to have seen some of these other ones take a bit more damage, the one that you had, the last in the line just gets utterly evaporated and bursts into just a poof of drake dust that then sort of settles down to the water. Anything else you'd like to do? Okay.
All good for me.
Duron.
Alright. This thing is on my shit list. So, as a bonus action, the first thing Duron's gonna do is he's going to suddenly disappear and reappear right next to Bariana, misty stepping away from this drake.
Okay.
Captain. And 3, we'll start with one at a time. An Eldritch Blast at the one that was giving me trouble.
Okay. Go ahead and roll that up.
That is 28.
That hits.
Yep. For 10 damage.
Okay. It's still up, but it sort of staggers back as this force bolt goes flying into it. Still sort of flying and hovering. Its eyes still peering right at you.
Yep. That's a 19.
19 will hit.
For... Oh, not as good. 8 damage.
8's enough as it drops to the deck, sort of flopping for a moment, and then comes to rest on the deck, unmoving.
And then we'll send the last one at the one near Otrek, which is a natural 20.
Nice! Sorry, it doesn't hit.
He's a mini sausage. So that's that number? 9 times 2 is
18.
18 plus 4 is 22 points of damage.
You just see this one sort of, as Otrek is shrunken down, just over your head, Otrek, you see this bolt. You'd be familiar with Duron's Eldritch Blast come shooting over your head, sort of spiraling, corkscrewing the air like water, like, I think ice is how you've sort of described them a little bit before. And just slams into this, knocking it backwards. It's barely staying up, sort of still hovering there next to you, screeching out at you, very, very wounded.
And it gets knocked back 10 feet.
I thought that it did. I just wanted to, before I said it, I want to make sure. And so as it gets knocked away from you, back out sort of over the water.
Bonus action. Yeah, that's my turn.
And thank you for the round. Let's give our people some visuals. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm looking at the map. What do you mean you're not looking at the map? Pro streamer, you know. Next up, Kato is down below, nursing his wounds. Biriana there in the back, whose sheet I forgot to get up, is going to give Bardic Inspiration to someone, so I don't have to pull up her sheet. Bardic Inspiration to Duron, and actually cast a You're Within Touch, right?
Yeah, I'm right next to her.
Is going to cast a Cure Wounds on you, which is... It's Cure Wounds dice roll.
A D8.
D8s, I thought so. And she's going to just give you a... she's not going to really heal you, but she's going to make you feel better. She gives you...
Heal me?
begrudgingly heal you, so that'd be 16 points of damage that she heals for you and gives you a D10 Bardic Inspiration.
Nice.
Kelpiel is dead. Otrek, you are up.
Okay. I think the move is just to shoot the bird, honestly.
Shoot the bird.
Not you, bird, but the other bird. All right. Yeah, that's just going to be a basic shot, I guess. That's not what I wanted to do. Or is it? No? What? Wait, yep, it's rolling, thankfully. I'm not getting 3D dice, but I'm getting rolls. That's cool.
Hey, there you go. So a 14 does not hit, however, 24 does.
Okay. I'm going to use Arcane Jolt in that case.
Does 6 points of damage. You see it sort of reel backwards as the bullet tears through.
Mm-hmm. Let me get that Arcane Jolt going. I'm going to use it to heal myself.
Very
So
cool.
I'm going to get back 8 HP. Why am I not getting 3D dice? I'd like my 3D dice, please. All right, and I think that's it for me.
Cool. So you get 8 hit points back. And next up is Queda. Your Echo did get banished last time because it took a hit, but you are there on the edge of the ship, sort of climbing up the ladder, having been dropped in the water by the kelp eel.
Right. Yeah, I think is Queda still grappled and stuff, or is she?
Nope,
like,
it's dead.
free?
So it let you go. You were able to untangle yourself. You just had half movement last time, if you recall.
Right. Okay. So I'm free to just like walk on the deck normally now, right?
Correct. You are. In fact, I can take this little net off of you. Sorry about that.
That's all good. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
not dead.
Jesus. Thank God. So I guess Queda will look around at the any of the adversaries remaining. She will I guess head.
One thing you could do, as we are coming up on the actually, we can do it because I missed it. We are coming up on the lair action. If you want to reload the ballista for Lars can take his shot.
Actually, sure.
I forgot about poor Lars. We blasted right by y'all's lair action. Sorry about that, since you're on your boat.
Yeah, and that's an action, right?
Correct. So he doesn't have to take his next action. It'll make it basically. We'll have him shoot on your action because you hand him a bolt.
Yeah, that's actually probably going to be better. So Queta will just hop on, go ahead and start reloading that for her action. And then for her bonus action, I guess she'll just do Second Wind
Cool.
to get some health back.
So Lars, go for it.
She did get a nasty bump from that creature. Nice. So, yeah. So she'll maybe just move around here to get a closer look at everything, but that will be her turn.
Cool. So Lars, having held his action to get a bolt loaded, I look to you, crew. Do you want him to shoot the one that's almost dead or the one over by Baldier? Normally, I'd say that'd be a really tough shot, except for the fact that the two creatures between him and there are both at itty bitty size. So I would say he would have a clear shot to try to get the one by Baldier without a risk of hitting either Otrek or Baldier. Or if you wanted to finish off the one that's off the side of the ship, he could do that too. So, as it's y'all's lair action, what would you like to do?
It's gonna have to save against 5d10 radiant, so the one next to Baldier might get nuked at the start of its turn.
That's true as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
closest to Otrek.
Like it's probably on its last legs by now.
Yeah, it's very bloody. So he's going to go ahead and shoot. He does shoot with advantage because he has training in this. However, he's a horrible. He didn't do very well on a 12. He does not hit. You see the ballista go long as trying to hit a small drake with a big ballista bolt. Just didn't come together for him. So, other lair action, you can you have Ollie out if anyone if y'all want Ollie to do something.
Who wants to
Can
lick?
Ollie cure poison?
Oh, that too.
Can Ollie clear poison? I think he actually can, if I recall, because I believe that celestial piece allows him to do so. I think it's a lick. The lick can either do healing or it can cure poison. Let me double check for you. Charmed, frightened, and poisoned conditions. Yeah. So he could go lick somebody and unshrink them.
Well, I think he could only reach Otrek, so.
He's got 60 feet to fly, which I'm not sure if he's.
Get him. He's like 90 feet away from.
Yeah, he's like 90 feet. So he could go get Otrek back to full size.
Drive-by licking.
Drive-by licking. Ollie goes flying over, gives a lick, bloop, and you get yourself 2d8 plus 1. Only 4 hit points, but yeah, you are not shrunk any longer.
That's 6. I think you minus 1.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. 6. 6 points of healing. And with
I
that,
appreciate it.
we go to the Drakes, and he has to do a what type of save? Because
Constitution save.
Oh, I don't know if this is just like because of where everything started, but Haron also has a 13 on the initiative tracker, and Queto's initiative is also 13. So would he not go first?
Oh, it must have
Yep.
stuck with that 9. That's we just leave
No,
it
no, no.
where it
You
is.
actually did have the night. You should go. I'm sorry. I just didn't reorder the. I didn't reorder it. So you are correct. So let me. You
Well,
would go
but with
before.
with the way Moonlight works, it should have taken a turn before I go again
Right.
because it hasn't taken damage yet for my first cast of the
Correct.
spell. So I'll delay my turn
So
until
yeah, we'll just
the
make it
initiative
work
after
out.
I'm
Let's
ready.
have the first
Yeah,
cast do
yeah.
its thing, and then we can do that. So it's a Constitution. He does have a little bit of a bump on Constitution, but it's not great. What's my save on that? He rolls a 17,
16 is the save, so he
Oof.
takes half damage.
which is
15.
15 points. He just does not want to die. So let's go ahead and have you take your turn. So as you theoretically should be above him in order.
Okay, well then in that case I will leave Moonlight where it. When the Drakes go, is he going to take Moonlight damage again?
No, I'm not going to have him take it again. I just had him take the damage at the top of your turn, so we can keep you in your correct initiative.
That's fine. I just wanted to check because I could move it as an action, which is the only reason I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
I will cast Guiding Bolt as a 4th level spell on the Drake next to Baldier.
Okay.
Oh wow. Okay, an 11 to hit.
Unfortunately, the 11 does not hit. It whoosh, goes shooting wide.
Cool. That's my turn.
Cool. We're going to have the diminution Drake go again, and you know what it's going to try to do. It's going to attempt to try to eat you again. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, Baldier. On a 15, you just save again, and he is not able to. He's not able to swallow you. It's a DC 15. So, yeah, that was its turn. It's when it does that, it's only action it's able to do. So it's going to hang there. Next up, Baldier.
Yeah, can we actually flavor that where it does like latch onto me, but
Yep.
Baldier manages to like hold its beak apart?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it basically looks like an anteater, so its tongue like wraps around your waist, and as it tries to reel you in, you basically, using trunk and arms, kind of make a tripod to hold yourself out of it.
Just because, I mean, it sets up perfectly, Baldier is just gonna hit him with a shocking grasp as this thing wraps its tongue around him. I think it just
Perfect.
kind of works out, right?
It's
We're
perfect.
gonna try to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 14.
On a 14, even though it's, I'm going to say since it's wrapped around you, let's go ahead and do advantage on that.
All right.
I'll give you advantage on this.
What if I did a 14?
It was just not meant to be. You just, as you're trying to hold yourself up, it's like you basically have like your hands on like whatever sort of like bony teeth it has, and they just don't conduct. Unfortunately, none of that energy is able to pass into this creature. Anything else you would like to do? You aren't actually grappled, so if you wanted to move, you could, but it would get an opportunity attack if you move out
For
of range.
sure. No, that's okay. I went with the flavor stuff, so I'm gonna suffer the flavor consequences.
There you go. Dura.
Okay. How far away are you? Yeah, we're just gonna do it. Seeing that, Baldier is struggling a little bit, and I don't have anything threatening me, I am going to saunter forward 5, 10, 15.
Saunter with a sigh. Gotta help Baldier again.
Actually, I'll come up over on this side so I can actually see him. And I'm going to cast Hold Monster
Interesting. Okay.
on the monster that is attacking him. I need a wisdom saving throw. The DC is 19.
He actually, believe it or not, these are little boogers have got a little bit of wisdom on them. But not today.
But not enough.
With
They're
a 7.
Not wise enough.
Yeah. His teeth were kind of tingling. You know, he was kind of having that. Is that cocaine? You know.
And then how far can I? Within
Saffron?
60
Maybe
feet?
is that saffron?
Just.
Yeah. What is the range? Is it 60 feet? So you might need to
No,
move
no,
it.
no. I'm looking at something else. It'll hit him. The range of my spell.
Yeah. Hold
is
monster.
Like 120 feet. 90 feet. Sorry.
90. Okay. Cool.
Am I not? Is it 90 feet?
Yeah.
70
You're
feet,
you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I was looking is my a little tentacle that's over on the side is going to disappear as I resummon another one within 10 feet of it.
Doop, doop. I'm gonna put it in the water so we can
And-
see it.
Yep. Yep. And I'm going to use my bonus action to make an attack against it. And
Okay.
now I have advantage, and it's a melee spell attack.
Nice.
And it's a good thing I have advantage because that's a 5. Well, that was a 2, so that'll be a
All right.
16 to hit total.
You've got a plus 14 to your spell
I have a
attacks.
5. It was the first one was a 5.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I was thinking it was not disadvantage, advantage. Okay, yeah, no, that hits. Just.
Good, just barely. So that's 2d8 cold damage. And because it's a melee attack, I believe it's an auto crit on a paralyzed creature.
Is hold monster paralyzation or is it restrained?
It is paralyzed for the duration.
Okay, no, paralyzed is auto crit.
So that is 4 times 4, which is 16
16.
cold damage.
Okay. Still alive. As you see the frost go over top of this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hold monster, my hold monster, this like swirling blast of icy wind like catches up around the side of it and freezes it to the deck and just kind of holds it in place as it freezes solid.
Okay. With that, is that all you've got?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Cool. Biriana from the back of the ship just yells out to Baldier, "Would you hit it already?" And gives you Bardic Inspiration. That's a D10. And Otrek, you're up.
Okie doke. Let's see what I can do. Let me look at the numbers I've got on my sheet. You know.
Shoot her!
Yeah, I think that's what I
Shoot
got.
her!
I think that's what I got. I think that's what I got.
So
Yes.
if you are willing to hold that shot till after Queta's turn, Queta could try and help keep that monster in place to make sure we actually shoot it this time, because we had some pretty bad misses.
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
I appreciate it though.
Yeah, of course.
We're gonna do shot number 1. Got my dice back.
Cool.
And shot number 2.
21 hits. And 13 hits. No, 13 doesn't hit, but the 21 hits, and you see it fall into the water dead.
All right. We are going to use.
Sploosh.
We're also going to use my Arcane Jolt again to heal myself
Okay.
for another 6.
Cool.
There we go. So energy keeps pouring back along the same shot that I'm throwing out as I keep firing this arcane pistol of mine.
Awesome. Queta, that critter up there is paralyzed, held by the hold monster. I assume till your next turn, or the end of its turn, or what's the duration?
For a minute.
For a minute. Oh, that's right. It gets to try to save
It's
at
a
the
wisdom save at the end of every turn.
Yeah. Oh, shnikes. What's the? Oh, it's still in that. It's gonna roast. in the moonlight.
Yeah.
That's like an auto. It's an auto fail.
All right, I'm no longer muted. I can actually talk. Let's see here. I guess seeing that like most everything is taken care of. How's the ship looking?
I mean, you know that you and Kato got slammed into it doing it's taken 2 points of hull damage, so the hull is definitely you would have got an up close and personal look at basically where you and Kato got slammed in the side and it sort of cracked some of the beams. But I mean, you have 6 seconds. It's not like a whole lot of repairing is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, she'll just yell over, "Have you got it under control over there?" To Baldier, Hauron, whoever feels like answering.
Yeah. And I think as an answer, Hauron, go ahead and roll those 5d10. As we did the damage at the top of your turn instead of the top of its turn.
God.
36.
So, sort of, especially after the experience you've just had, how do you want to flavor this this creature sort of getting evaporated in the moonlight?
Well, it's sort of precisely that, right? Like the moonlight streams down from above, and it's been doing this for a few seconds now, but the Drake has stayed inside it long enough that it just really begins to dissolve right in front of Baldier. The radiance pushes a hole through a wing, and then a leg, and then the torso, at which point it just sort of turns into wisps.
Yeah.
And joins with the moonlight.
So, it's almost like there's this small full moon that has, been summoned over this creature and this beam of moonlight down on it. And as it is dissolving, Halran and Baldier, you watch as it starts to dissolve and the moonlight starts to go through it, and you see not just it evaporate, as you've probably, Baldier and certainly Halran, have seen creatures happen before. You see out of those holes in the wings, whatever, drops of blood, almost like an upward rain of blood, until that moon is stained blood red before winking out. No one else sees it other than the two of them. And with that, combat comes to a close.
Yeah, Queta is still waiting for an answer if everyone is silent. She's just kind of like leaning in closer to see if anything is happening.
After taking a moment to breathe in, after seeing the blood moon thing, Halran will turn to her and say, "It's settled now."
I could use a licking.
We'll let Ollie handle that one.
Oh, it might be fun to put him in my pocket and let him ride around for a little bit.
Not get near me.
Quick question. Jay,
Yeah.
if my eyes meet Haran, is there that same kind of forgetfulness thing going on, or is that just specifically a Baldier?
It's specifically a Baldier thing. I mean, and all of you are like, golly, I can't believe that we didn't think of Halran while we were doing all this navigation, but there's not that. It's more of the, how did Halran slip my mind, like things do, in the midst of all of it and the excitement, or, I thought he was up in the crow's nest this whole time. It was sort of that your brain almost making those corrections of why Halran hadn't been around all morning and here into the early afternoon. And so there's not that same level of recognition that something very odd occurred. And in fact, speaking of which, thinking of recognition, Duran, I need you to roll a D100 for me, please.
Gosh. I never thought I'd have to do... I'm just going to do it in roll 20. It'll be easier.
Yep.
Uh, 72.
72. Sort of as the sort of rush of adrenaline of combat and using your magic and calling upon those forces of the sea, the fathomless depths, Shimandala, sort of recede out of you. There's just a deep, like, creaking ache in your bones, down to their very marrow.
Okay. Just an ache. That's it.
Just an ache.
I think Duran's just gonna kind of chalk that off to maybe side effects from the trials of the past day,
Okay.
and hope that it's nothing more than that.
Hey, you're on a river. Maybe we'll call it denial. It had to be.
Do I roll like 2d6 psychic damage for that pun?
Oh, you do what you do what you feel you need.
Queta will look over to Duran, not noticing if he visibly reacts to any pain, and just say, "You
Probably
better get."
visibly reacting to it, panting a little bit, kind of like gritting his teeth as he sometimes does.
Okay. In that case, she will say, "Something wrong?"
I hope not.
Would you like me to run and get Baldier before Ollie cures him, so we can put him in your pocket?
I don't think Baldier would appreciate that.
It was a joke, but
I don't know that I've ever heard you make a joke before.
well, the last time I tried to make a joke with you, it was very uncomfortable. Maybe this is a sign to not.
Joke?
Well, and she starts fiddling with her carpenter's tools and starts looking at the damaged hole, and just starts going over and says, "There's just so much to focus on, and it's just so difficult these days to," and just lets her voice trail off as she sets about to
While
work.
that's happening, Ollie comes over and gives you a lick bird, and you return to normal size.
We missed her.
Okay. As soon as Baldier fully returns to form, he'll probably crack his neck and his joints a little bit and kind of make sure that everything, measures up. And once he's done kind of surveying himself, I think he'll look towards Howron, honestly, with probably kind of a stupendous or stupefied look on his face, just like kind of gazing up to where the moon winked out of existence after it absorbed the blood, and back to Howron, and just almost like not shrugging his shoulders, but just in that like kind of look of like, I don't what what.
Howron will just simply shrug in response, but that's before he'll walk over to Baldier after they have that initial moment of connection. And first of all, does anybody appear to be particularly injured after this fight?
I don't think people took a lot of damage, and Kato certainly can take care of himself. I don't know, anyone else way down?
I got plenty of spell slots. If y'all need heals, just let me know.
Yeah, basically after this sort of combat ends, you see ahead of you that the river sort of turns back to the south. The that vile bank sort of receding into behind the stern, as if you're on the map page, you're sort of going around this sort of horseshoe, and then that's where the combat was, and starting to make your way to the south. And by late afternoon, it was probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock when this combat occurred. The banks of the river sort of are starting to narrow in, and instead of sort of being these wide open sort of jungle and overgrowth, they narrow in sort of closer to the ship. The channel becoming a little bit more narrow, but also seemingly deeper, as it sort of transitions, the landscape around you transitions into sloping foothills. And, in the distance, you can sort of see where these mountains are going to, you're going to be sailing this river sort of through the mountains, probably by tomorrow, easily. Easily spotted on the banks in this area. You can see wild game and sort of picturesque grottos carved by small tributaries coming out of the foothills and emptying into this larger river. It's not, like I said, that sort of overgrown cornucopia of the bountiful bank, but there's sort of this serene, sort of fruitful balance in this stretch of river. It certainly would hit both Halron's druidic nature, and Duron, because of your navigation, is so connected to the currents and the flow of the river. Whenever you sort of sink your consciousness down into the waters for navigation purposes or just the familiarity of it, maybe there is a almost rejuvenating balm to it. In fact, even that ache in your bones seems to lessen a little bit when you let your consciousness sort of sink into this sort of deep, sort of cooler water than it had been before. In fact, you're starting to feel sort of that slight chill, even though the mountains are still far away, just a little hint of a chill starting to sort of pass down through from upriver.
If I remember right, the last time I really tapped into that sort of connection, it was like almost two sides waging war, and we've kind of passed through that into the... Got it.
Yep. That conflict, and almost like this escalation that sort of seemed to have led to this outgrowthing of both banks, has now sort of subdued, but there's still a lean towards something fruitful is, I guess, still the best word. It is unlike anything you experienced before.
I think Hauron. That's not my character. I think Duron will just kind of give a side-eyed glance over to Hauron and say, if you don't mind, I would like to take a short rest. Can you lead us up the river in the meantime?
Of course. Please gather your strength.
Thank you. And I'm actually going to go take a seat at the front tip of the ship and just kind of like sit there and sort of draw in whatever I can from that sort of rejuvenating feeling that I'm getting from the waters for the next however long I can.
Yeah. It doesn't lessen the severity at all when you aren't connecting to it, but while connecting to it, that ache sort of dulls somewhat, and it, it's like, I don't want to use our good friend Kuma. Maybe that, it's like taking an aspirin for a broken leg. It's going to help a little, but it doesn't go away. But it's better than nothing type idea.
Yeah. It's like I get the impression that it's like I'm dipping myself into like a hot salt bath.
Yes.
And like letting it kind of just soak in, and then as soon as you get out, you're just like, oh, why did I get out? It felt so good.
Very much that type of feeling of sort of submerging yourself into that, just a little bit of relief. So we're gonna keep moving forward a bit, but as the afternoon moves on and the sun begins to set. Yep. Oh, like I said, yeah. I'm about to ask, what all would you like to be doing, as we start moving forward in time?
Awesome. I mean, I just want to have this conversation pretty shortly after what happened. Was kind of waiting to get back to full size. Essentially, once Baldier recovers, he's going to approach Howron, probably after the Duran conversation, where he's given, the go-ahead to lead us here. But he's going to approach Howron and finally finish his greeting, say, "Friend Howron, I have two questions for you, and one you must answer, and the other you may volunteer to share as much as you wish. First, the former. Are you okay?"
Yes. Howron seems perplexed, and he says yes, but there seems to be more there that's not coming out at this point.
Halran, roll me a wisdom saving throw at disadvantage.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have proficiency.
Cool. 17 is still pretty good, but
the top roll would have been a 25 with the...
Yeah.
So you said disadvantage. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So with the 17, as Baldier asks that question, like a strobe going off in your mind, these images from what you experienced flash through your mind. Not long enough to even discern them or verbalize them, but they're there. On a 17, I'll allow you to decide whether they read upon your face to your friend Baldier.
Baldier is the person that Howron has known for the longest time out of all the people. Left home way before he was 100. So yeah, those read on his face, given that it's Baldier.
I think you see Baldier takes your answer, but I think kind of seeing that response, you see his features soften a little bit. It's not disappointed, but like a little almost sad that you're clearly like going through something and don't want to share it, and that's fine. He didn't ask you to tell the truth. He just said you had to answer, and you did. So now the second, and again, share only what you choose to. Friend Howron, from our talks, you know that I've walked this land for quite some time. I remember every ray of sunshine. I remember every cool breeze beneath the earth. Every grain of dirt I felt erode beneath my feet on the miles and miles I walked. And yet, when you appeared from below deck, your face, your name was lost to me. What happened?
After sighing deeply, Halron puts a hand on Baldier's arm and says simply, I was elsewhere for a time. I don't know why that took me from your memory, but I'm back now. And I know you wish I had shared more, and we will talk again, I promise. But perhaps for now, and he gestures in the direction of Duran and just the front of the ship generally. I need some time to ponder.
As you reach out and touch Baldier, Halron, that strobing, that frenetic flash seems to slow and calm a bit. Not enough to make sense of, but that Baldier almost is acting like an anchor to slow down that flow of memory for you, to be able to bring it forward if you needed to or wanted to.
Realizing that, can Halron attempt to make sense of it at this point? While Baldier's still there?
Yeah, I mean, you can roll me a. I think it's still going to be back with that. Is this going to be wisdom? I think this is going to be willpower. I think it's going to be a charisma saving throw to try to use your will to force the memories, to force your brain. Nice. You feel yourself there, back in the cabin. You're here on the ship. The sun beginning to set. Everyone around you. There's almost a choice to be made. But you know you have the power to make it. You see across your vision a line, not unlike the veins, the branching veins and arteries of a circulatory system, stretching back. And it was upon that river that you traveled. You sort of look around you, and almost overlaid with your reality, there's you, there's Baldier, and as you look forward over the bow of the ship, a river of blood that lies before you. And whether you want to navigate it at this moment or navigate it later is fully within your control. You see no one else with you on this ship other than Baldier. It is the whale's whiskers, but it is something different. It is overlaid, interposed.
Does Baldier perceive any of this? Does he still perceive Howard?
Yes. Baldier, in this connected moment, your physiology, your connection, your friendship with Halran, it is almost like those memories that were missing in your mind are starting to unfold for you as well.
Shaky.
Oh, you were muted for a second, but you got it.
Oh, am I back?
Yep,
Okay.
you're back.
Cool. I think you kind of see this almost like shaky, kind of in and out Baldier, just very like slowly, like almost kind of underwatery, like looking around a bit, kind of, I guess, confused and taking in the situation before meeting your eyes again, Halran, and just very faintly saying, "I trust you."
Howard nods at Baldier and elects to navigate the river now.
Okay. As soon as you make that decision, you're no longer on the deck of the ship. You and Baldier are in your cabin, but separate from yourself. You are looking at yourself awaking at 4 a.m. this morning. And Baldier, you watch. You see this altar of thorns. You see the sealed door. And you watch as Halran prepares himself, takes his shirt off, and turns into this falcon and swirl around the room to then throw themselves into the thorns. The falcon's wings spread wide, impaled and bleeding out and dying on this altar, this sigil of ancient thorns and runes. And as you watch that falcon die, its blood pooling, you see it flicker out of existence as you've seen Halran's wild shapes dissipate before. And in that moment, the two of you are pulled into the thorns and disappear. Halran, you find yourself walking through the midnight weald, the darkened forest where the city of your people is hidden, a forest that even at noon is still as dark as midnight, in the gated, twisted, brambled city of Thon Sangrial. And as you walk up to it and through its gates, you feel your parents, your grandparents, their presence there. There's then this sense of vertigo, this twisting, almost sense of falling, but then catching yourself, of gravity reversing on you as you emerge into the Shadowfell, through the Mirror of the Moons, the place where your people transitioned to this plane in this world. The entire crescent of that lake, almost a halo of blood along its shoreline from the hundreds of people who sacrificed to cast the spell to come here. You rush away from that through the Valley of Thorns and are caught in stasis. Both you and Baldier feel yourself trapped within the Valley of the Thorns, as these vines, where the name the Thorn Weavers came from, and brambles twist around you, pierce your flesh, and impale you upon the thorns for what seems like decades. You then move again, transitioning out of the Shadowfell and the blood-stained tears of sacrifice that were made to open the way from the place before to escape through the Shadowfell, the homeworld of your bloodline. To you, an unrecognizable place, dark stone and cramped blood-stained walls, the crack of flails on skin and sobs of hunger and pain and sorrow, and everywhere, chanting and pools of blood being filled drip by drip to create the magic of your people in service to some dark force that you feel looming over you. That vision zooms out into a wider view, almost symbolic, as both of you almost become ethereal. And that pool, those multiple pools of blood sort of become one large pool, almost like an egg sac. And then it bursts, sending tiny drops skittering along a vast cosmic web out to other worlds, other places, along the lines of belief and faith. And over it all, this web of blood and sorrow and suffering. A terrifyingly beautiful woman with 8 blood-red I can't say the words. Arachnid eyes. Looking over it all. Both of y'all's consciousness sort of gets pulled down to a single drop and sort of this stomach lurching free fall. And there's this weird blending and juxtaposition. Both of your consciousnesses inhabiting the same body. Your eyes open. You are young. Just a boy. A child of low birth and no standing. Your life, not your own. Arms bound behind your back. Sent to witness, sent to be reformed by what you are about to be forced to see. You are in a black obsidian cavern. The walls all biting edges and sharp facets. Ahead of you is a pit. Your memories filling in the details, the memories of this boy, this ancestor, filling in the details of its foreboding bottomless void that gapes before you. Above the pit, a vertical tunnel, perhaps a long dormant volcanic vent, is what created this. Overhead it is filled to choking with webs. And there, suspended between the webs above and the void below, your older sister, with her eyes the color of spun silver silken thread, even though born of low standing, considered to be marked as chosen, as special. Serene, beautiful, accepting of her fate and the honor that she had been given. Her and 7 others in their silk robes, like beautiful silver candles suspended above the void, arms crossed over their chests with almost euphoric, cherubic expressions. They had been prepared and waiting for this moment. Their forms cradled under their arms by silken threads, tying them up to the wed, so they drift, turning slightly, hovering in that between space. The ears of this boy that you inhabit hear words spoken in language that neither of you understand echoing in this chamber. And then, like the strike of a viper, black curved blades slice through the threads, hanging your sister and the others above the void. And in that moment of weightlessness, before she falls, your eyes lock with hers as her eyes snap open. And there's a brief moment of doubt. And your name is whispered from her lips, the boy's name, Balfram, in a questioning whisper. Her name screamed from yours as you yank against your bonds to try to run forward to catch her, to save her. The razor-sharp threads that had bound your hands behind your back, biting into your wrists, the venom that they are imbued with, withering your flesh of your hands and wrists, spreading down with every beat of your heart, down your hands, up your arms. But you still pull even harder to try to get to her. And as the flesh now becomes so desiccated and withered from the venom, the skeletal, all but mummified remains of your hands slip free. And you fall forward and you claw at your face in misery and grief, screaming her name. Arabella. And you find yourself back on the deck of the ship. That is where we're going to take our break. We'll be right back, folks. And we are back. Halran, Baldier. The vision fades, but I do have a question for Halran. As you return, that same coldness in your wrists and your hands that you felt from before, Baldier as well, there's sort of a numbness in your hands from that experience. And Halran, as it is your magic, many of your ancestors were often marked by the magic they cast. Does this blood journey manifest itself as on your flesh from having taken it? And if so, how and what does it look like?
Well, one imagines that Balfram's hands, forearms, wrists would have been scarred for the rest of his life. So after this experience, I suppose Halron's hands, wrists, and forearms have fainter versions of those same scars from pulling at the enchanted bonds until the hands were so withered that they could slip through.
As you look down, the magic does manifest, but as in the way of the Thorn Weavers, it is not a necrotic scarring. It is your wrists and hands become wrapped. The scars like thorns wrapping around and up your forearms. On your drow skin tone, they show up almost as white or gray, almost silver, like a silken spider threads. These thorns wrapping around your wrists and hands and arms.
I will fairly visibly admire those, at least such that it's clear to Baldier, who I'm sure can make that, the jump as to where those have come from. And I will close my eyes for a long time, and then finally look back at Baldier, open them to reveal silver ones that match Arabella's, and say then, you know as much as I do.
Man, whole lot to drink in. So, I think much in the same way, I need a minute to process everything. I'm sure Baldier will need the same. So I think what he does is sees your eyes reflect that change, sees your hands reflect the change. And I actually think he will hold his hands out to you and almost outstretch, as in to take yours if you allow it.
Sure.
And I think he'll just kind of look at those markings on your hand for a moment before looking you in the eye. And yeah, unsure of exactly what to say or where to go from here, I think he'll just echo his words. I trust you. And I'll give you a smile, a sincere one, and leave you to handle this and also handle where we head next.
Yeah. On that point, I guess as Baldier heads to help with the wind and whatnot, correct? Halran will slowly walk across the deck and then climb up into the crow's nest.
Okay. You climb up to the crow's nest, on the watch, ever on the lookout, calling down directions to Biriana. Again, the channel here, the river, much deeper, while not as wide, much deeper than before, with not as much threat of snags or sandbars or things like that you'd experienced before, and we leave Baldier and Halran with their thoughts. Otrek, after this combat, we have Queta repairing the hull, Duran resting, trying to soothe the ache in his bones. What is Otrek doing?
Well, normally he would be utilizing Scut to help with hull repairs, but since that's not an option, he's going to be scrambling across the hull himself. I've got plenty of ways that I can help repair things, and I know we've taken 2 pretty heavy hits. Health-wise, I'm doing great. Spell-wise, I'm doing great. So I'm going to put myself to use shivering some timbers and ahoy mateying.
Okay.
If Otrek is like crossing Queta's path, Queta would like to actually speak to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Queta will probably be hard at work, setting things up. Where she can, she uses magic to expedite the process while no one is looking. When Otrek comes up, she looks over to him, and she'll say, "Bet you're glad to be away from all those creatures, aren't you?" I guess it'd be yelling, so it's like, "Bet you're glad to be away from all those creatures, aren't you?"
Otrek will hiss back and then loudly call out, "I left the swamps for a reason. I much prefer cities." I'm definitely not sparing any magic. I've got mending as a cantrip. I'm going to be using it, and just a backpack full of tools.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no shame in the game.
True, and you're not really trying to hide it. So.
Well, it's also not magic. It's artifice, so that's different.
It's fair. Dude. So Queta will actually stop what she's doing and maybe walk over to gingerly to Otrek. She'll watch him perform his artifice and just kind of nod along. It's very impressive. Yeah, your role on the ship really is, your work on the ship really is very hard to match.
Otrek, being no fool to what's been done on the ship, will gesture around and point at the adaptations that Queta has been responsible for. Just kind of scaly claw points there, scaly claw points there. Very obviously the reinforcements, the bridging, the anchorage, etc. Not really say anything, just point.
So I will nod in acknowledgement and then lead in and kind of whisper a bit more subtly. How's our other assignment down there?
Otrek's lips will curl back from his scaly maw. Just the sibilant hiss will come out. It's not good. It is not good, and it is not good. It is evil, and it is broken, and we have problems.
Would you like help solving those problems? Do you need help solving those problems?
Otrek will think about it for a little bit. Yes, once this is done, we need a solution, and I cannot do it alone.
I'm very eager to help in that solution. And Queta will just kind of like, Queta will just kind of like do a bit of like an active stretch there and just say, you know, this belt here, ever since I've put it on, I've really been feeling like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I've just been feeling stronger than I've ever felt before. and I'm really eager to put it to use to help you in whatever way I can.
Otrek is very much reconsidering bringing you in on this project. The belt.
It's helpful.
The belt is still a concern, but it is not my concern. We will find a work to do.
Queta nods and then just cheerfully says, I'm just glad this whole ordeal is behind us. Once we get Fitz back, I'm hopeful that everything else on the ship will be straightforward and no other strange problems will be going on.
Well, we're cursed now. We're doomed.
And she'll just cheerfully pat Otrek on the back and just continue working on the damage that she was working on.
All right. Yep. We'll go back to patching holes and repairing substructures and pumping bilge and all the other fun nautical terms.
Yeah. And that's going to take pretty much, the rest of the afternoon for you all to do. But after an hour, let's check in with Duron as you come to the end of your short rest. The sun beginning to set, just, getting low in the sky. Twilight would be coming soon. I mean, as you sort of pull out of your rest, but as you had mentioned before, maybe not so ready to bring your consciousness out of this soothing depths of the river.
Yeah, it's been an hour-long time for me to sit and reflect and think. I think the one thing Turon really wants to do is talk to Mariana.
Okay.
So I'm assuming she's at the...
She's at the wheel, yeah.
Yeah, at the wheel. Which is the other side of the ship.
Yeah.
So he will...
Yeah, you would be walking back to the back.
Yeah. Kind of, maybe like with a slight limp, favoring a little bit of the soreness, almost like an old man walks a little bit, not quite, a little bit gingerly, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
Come up to Bariana and just kind of say...
She kind of gives you a little bit of a side eye as you're approaching, not even in relation to how you're walking or the gingerness of it, just, shields up, yellow alert,
Why is he coming to talk to me? Captain, why do you continue journeying after so long?
She, again, not expecting this question especially from Duron. She sort of looks at him at first, almost like, okay, is he, is there a joke? Is there a punchline? How am I going to be the butt of this? But then sort of seeing the sincerity. It's in my blood. It always has been. Ever since I was a wee lass. The sea and what lied over the horizon. It filled my days, my nights, my dreams, my wishes. And not just to see it, but to help others who couldn't go themselves have a taste or flavor or an idea of that the world was so much bigger than what they knew.
What would you do if you felt you couldn't continue?
She looks at you, and with as straightforward of a honesty as you've probably ever, unguarded honesty that you've probably ever experienced, she goes, "You're looking at it."
I see. And Duron's kind of stare down at her really sincerely and just kind of say, "I'm sorry if I have not been as helpful to you as I could be."
If there's one thing I've learned, at all these years and all these miles and leagues traveled, sometimes the hindrances push you forward faster than the things that help you.
What do you plan to do if that shard can't be fixed?
I plan to insult Otrek that he can't figure it out, and then he'll get it right.
I have an idea. I don't know if it'll work. But we'll see when the time comes, I suppose. First things first. We need to get Fitz back.
It's the top of my mind as well.
Otherwise, Kato will never forgive us.
I'm not sure if she'll forgive me, even if we do get him back.
Why is that?
You can't erase people's experiences from them. Whatever poor Fitz has gone through for the last 2.5, 3 weeks by the time we get him back isn't something I can just magically make go away. If I wouldn't have brought him along, if I wouldn't have put us at risk, if I wouldn't have... It's just now a matter of making it as right as I can, even if I can't make it go away.
A wise person once told me that hindrances sometimes make you get to the end of your journey faster. Maybe Fitz's journey needed a hindrance. After all, it's not always safe what we do.
No, it's not. She sort of gives you a wry smile when you use her own words back at her. You're picking up bad habits from Kato. It's not fair to use my own words against me.
Maybe I'm getting smarter and wiser too.
Oh, I doubt that. She kind of gives you a nudge.
You're probably right. I'm going to go find my cloak. I think Otrek has it somewhere.
And you begin to search the ship, and your search sort of takes you room to room, and eventually back to your cabin. And as you open the door, the grim reality that waits there, you are faced with once again, that you sort of pushed to the side. Unlike the spines on your body that over the days, last 24 hours, have began to sort of erode and disintegrate. Those spines that you ripped out of your bone and sinew, still with pieces of your own flesh sort of on the meaty ends of them, lay there on the floor of your cabin, as pristine as they were the day you extracted them.
Well, I can't have Kato see this. And I will gather them up, clean up the area as best I can, put them in my bag.
Bag of holding, or I mean, they're big. Some of these are big, or is it just like in a backpack?
Oh, I was just thinking like a backpack.
That's
but
fine. Just checking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can fit some of them, but there's going to be a couple that sort of stick out the top.
I'm not super worried. He doesn't carry a bunch of things on him, so he can just stay in the side, and then kind of climb into his hammock and lean back. Just kind of think to himself, I think this might be my last journey. And try to see if he can sort of pull on that connection to his patron, just to get any insight on what his status is.
As you sort of reach your mind out, let's go ahead and roll for it. Go ahead and roll me just do a willpower check. So not a saving throw, so a charisma check.
Okay. 6.
On a 6, you reach your mind out, and it's almost as you send your sort of thought and that tether of arcane energy that connects you to Shimandala. It's almost as though as you start to reach out with it, it begins to shred, as though those spines that are in your backpack are tearing into it and shredding it.
I'm just gonna cast a cantrip while I'm doing this. Do I get that same sort of feeling as I draw upon that power that I received from him?
Roll me a perception or an insight check.
I'm super wise now, right?
Yeah.
Natural 20 for a 19.
Nice. As you pull on that, there is that ache in your bones. But with that check, out of the corner of your eye, what you notice is one of the spines that's poking out of the back of the backpack grows just a little bit longer.
Okay. Don't know what to do with that, but won't push that boundary too much more.
Okay. So the big question for the party, sort of above table, we don't have to go into the RPing of this. As night approaches, twilight and darkness start to envelop the ship. Do you want to sail through the night? Or set anchor?
I don't trust the river. I would say keep sailing.
Halron would also say keep sailing.
Okay.
To such a point, I do not trust the river that if we had the option to once more take to the skies, Otrek would be fine with that. That would be okay.
Wow. When Otrek wants to,
That's
when
a-
Otrek wants to go,
That's fine.
wants to
It's
fly
fine.
again.
Also, there was a comment in chat about Duron being a little bit quiet.
Sorry.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Chad. So, setting lights, lanterns upon the bow of the ship, up on the rigging, up on the masts, the multiple masts. Halrun, of course, with your drow heritage, able to see, and also being a druid of the stars, the night is almost more comfortable to you than the day. Baldier, as always, if you'd like to stay up, if you can do me that Constitution saving throw. 16, no problem on the first night to keep the wind up as the darkness begins to surround you. And the whale's whiskers pushes its way forward, upriver, through the night. We'll say the rest of you all, or whoever would like to, you can take your long rest. Otherwise, you'll take a point of exhaustion. At some point, Halren, you'll want to do your 4 hours. And if you want to have Duron spell you for navigation, or Biriana or one of the other crew members can spell you. But you are able to sail through the night. I do need a perception check from Halron. At night by the stars, I'll give you an advantage on it. Natural 20 will work just fine. As the night passes uneventfully, again, the river wide, deep, running cool and clear. It's almost hypnotic as these sort of walls of the banks of the river that had sort of become the foothills sort of become steeper and steeper, going from foothills to sort of steeper slopes of granite, very much like a fjord that had been cut out by some ancient glacial forces. While not cliffs at this point yet, still rising up into the sky, well over the height of the masts, towering overhead as you sort of travel through this sort of deep fjord, going deeper and deeper into these mountains. Even at night, with your 28 perception, looking at these sort of towering walls of granite stone, slopes of granite stone to the port and starboard of the ship as you sort of turn a little bit more, heading south, but starting to curve a little bit around. First thought would be that to climb those slopes would be all but impossible as they rise up at almost like a 70-degree, 80-degree angle, until you're able to spot these strange sort of six-legged goat-like creatures that seem to be navigating sort of these across these steep slopes, grazing, don't seem to be threatening in any way, just living their best life sort of on the verticality of this terrain. The stars pass overhead, and tonight, as you look up at them, Halran, there is both an emptiness to them and a strange connection that you feel. And by the moon in the starlight, if you look down at your hands, those scars almost seem to sparkle and shimmer in the moonlight and the starlight. Tell me about Halran's night up in the crow's nest.
Most of the night is spent in deliberately intense concentration on the task at hand, right? We are sailing. That's what Halran is focusing on, because there's so much to process, right? And getting overwhelmed by it all now could mean that the ship runs aground, and as momentous as everything with Baldier was, he's been doing this for decades, and so it has that ability to like separate his emotional need to deal with everything and what he's doing at the time. But I guess compared to a usual night in the crow's nest, even though he looks up once in a while, his not aversion, but something close to it, I guess, to looking straight up like he did 2 nights before persists. Thankfully, it's just navigating across the river, but he would have had a much more difficult time in open water now than a few days ago.
Okay. As morning approaches, Baldier down on the deck, how has Baldier been doing this evening through the night?
Been weird, man. I don't know the proper way to put this, but those experiences, those feelings, for the first time in his life, those names, Balfrin and Elvira, or Arabella, he's like, it's almost like struggling to like search his memory banks for something, like an experience he's never had to do before, like trying to parse through memories to find any connections, anything he can make sense of. I mean, he clearly gets the connections with some of the things that Halran has said, but he really just like is trying to figure out what else is missing or what else he could add or what pieces of the puzzle that maybe he can solve. But I don't know. I think occasionally maybe the wind that he controls kind of juts a little to the side and he has to recenter because he's just so lost in his own brain trying to figure out how memory works.
Mm-hmm. It's during one of those times where the ship seems to drift to the port side that you immediately sort of reactionarily refocus your concentration, thinking that you had let the wind drift, and you realize that no, the wind that you're providing is still steady and straight up river. And I think about the same time, we'll keep going by that perception row, as you feel that tug on the bow, sort of pulling you to port, up in the crow's nest, Halran, with your night vision, you can see there is a break in the wall of the fjord. And you see a fork of the river flowing down through this narrow canyon. Much narrower than the path you are on. Wide enough for the ship, barely. Probably only 75 feet wide, this pass. This fork in the river. And as you pass it here, still in the darkness, you recognize it almost immediately. The canyon that leads to the cave, and almost as you recognize it, you feel like those eyes are watching you.
You said we've passed it?
You're basically passing it right now. You know the direction that Duran has given you is upriver, to continue all the way upriver to the source. That's what his reading of the currents have led you to believe, that is the path to Volcaron. But
Where
this,
we
He's given you a copy of the amulet that Kato had been borrowing.
yeah,
So you would still
Right.
be pointing in that direction.
yeah. So you see that still pointing upriver, but that canyon is sort of looming to the port.
I cast Control Water and stop the ship.
Almost broadside to the canyon, holding against the current. You see Lars, who's taken the night shift with the wheel, sort of look up at you. Again, not unfamiliar with between the magics of Halran and Baldier of having a sailing vessel come to a complete slam on the brakes stop. But it is very much you're sort of right here broadside to where this channel goes off. On the map you will see the river that heads off almost due south from where you are. Many of you, having seen the map, thinking that it was a tributary that flowed down from the mountains into this river, but in fact it is a fork that flows southward from the main source that lies ahead.
Is Biriana awake?
Biriana is in her cabin at this point, having been spelled by Lars is there. Lars is there at the wheel, just sort of with a questioning look.
I will descend from the crow's nest.
Baldir, what are you doing as you see Halran come down? You would have felt the ship come to a stop as well.
I actually think at that moment of feeling the ship stop and kind of seeing Halran in the crow's nest and just kind of knowing that he was the one responsible for this, kind of feeling that pull, I actually think Baldir will cease the wind, of course, to not fight against this, knowing we need to come to a standstill. But also I think he might redirect some of that wind to begin to very slowly and subtly influence the wind through the ship's sails to start turning it in the direction.
Halran, as Baldir does this, approaches him and, still moving, simply asks that Halran says, "Watch the canyon." And makes a gesture at Lars that in the course of decades sailing together, I think Lars could take for, we need to speak to the captain.
Yeah.
And at that point, go to Biriana's room. She's going to get an uncomfortable awakening.
Biriana, being a sailor all of her life, she probably, feeling the ship come to a stop, maybe not fully awake, but partially awake, but as soon as the knock come, she's at the door. What is it? She actually has her the viol made of bone in her hand, which you know is pretty much her. You know, she is ready to rumble if necessary.
I'll do the patting the air motion initially to calm what isn't, a reasonable concern upon being awoken that way, right? And say, there is no immediate danger, but you and I must speak. I have perhaps a lot and not nearly enough to tell you.
Okay. She looks concerned. She doesn't invite you into her room. She starts walking you on deck so that she can see whatever it is. She is not one much for imagination. She's a show it to me type of gal. And you would be familiar with this. So she basically just sort of marches past you and starts going up on deck, sort of ear toward you, but also basically she wants to see what's going on.
Sure.
Can this be done? Oh, we'll find someplace quiet if no one else can hear. What is it? You know I trust you with all of our lives.
So Halron will make eye contact for the first time in the course of the conversation, which may well alert her that something has changed.
Yeah.
And then direct, just visually, right, her attention down to the forearms and hands that he now simply turns over in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he starts this way is to lend some, to get her ready to believe something wild, right?
Yeah.
And Halron just starts from the beginning, and he says, 2 nights ago, when I was in the crow's nest, the attention of something was drawn to me. We have spoken in the past in snippets and here and there about my people, our arrival on this world, the arrival of the other peoples of this world and their creation. But if memory serves, I never truly explained why we came here. My parents, even ancestors, family, other members of my people, simply put, fled another world where we were subjugated by something terrible. And recent experience leads me to believe that my people on many worlds suffer this fate. This thing found me in the dark. I worry has found our people on this new world. And I brooded on this for some time, confiding in just one of our crew members. And then last night, attempted the magic of my people, the specific traditions that we brought with us and that we developed on our terrible journey to this new planet, this new world. And learned many things, but perhaps not enough about where we are. In the course of this, the first vision, the second vision, some things were the same. We saw this canyon, and then he, of course, gestures as they're on deck. And at its end, a cave. And when I saw the cave, I felt the presence of that thing that subjugated my people, and that seems to seek to do so once again. Coming upon it here, I could not help but stop, even though the amulet pulls us further and further towards Fitz. There are strange things to be found in these mountains. My vision included the image of a broken sword in addition to this canyon.
You see her expression change when you say a broken sword. A broken sword, you say?
Yes. Perhaps further upriver, if my understanding serves. And he gestures in that direction. What?
I believe everything that you've told me. And if you feel that this entity has found you, we must certainly try to address it. But the errand that I am to perform for Jin Sarat, the soul scale of the platinum primordial dragon, I was told it could be found at the hilt of the shattered saber.
Do you know more of the Shattered Saber? Or a simple name?
I just know the name. That was all Jin Sarat told me.
It seems we only received fragments. Well, then in the name of Fitz and Jin Sarat, we should keep the present course. Then, once those errands have been fulfilled and hopefully we have learned more, those who feel so inclined can perhaps journey with me down the canyon.
I will follow you wherever you lead us. And whatever business we have to perform, I'll perform it with you. I think the whole crew will. But we will leave that to them when the time comes. Where's Baldier in all this? I mean, are you earshot tagging along? I mean, you've got really high passive perception, so whether you are actively right there or...
I was going to comment Baldur's earshot's probably pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
I think he has remained in a place where he's still controlling the wind, probably even at a standstill. The ship is bobbing a little bit, so he's constantly like shifting directions to make sure the ship is facing down the alley. I don't think he's directly right by them. He probably wants to give them plenty of room and space to have these conversations, but I mean, he's still got that ship pointed down the canyon here. It's very weird to have that vision and then suddenly be here. So until directed by Viriana or Howron, he's maintaining this ship locked in place.
So you've
And
got it
as
pointed,
Howron
pointed
as Howron
upriver
told him to-
or down the canyon?
down the canyon. And as
Okay.
Howron told him to do, he is keeping an eye on the canyon itself. Like
Right.
just kind of sensing what could or could not be here. He is like
Yeah.
meticulously like just focusing to make sure he sees anything that he can find.
Howron smiles at Viriana's kind words about the crew and herself, everybody being so potentially willing to come with him. And he says, "Thank you. Please return to your rest. We will continue down the river and we'll get Fitz soon enough."
We won't abandon you and your people if they need our help. Or I won't. You have done far too much for me over the years, for me to not accept a new adventure now.
Provided she is on board with it, Howron will simply hug Viriana at this point.
Oh, yeah. And she just nods and she goes, "Set our course."
He nods and turns away to walk to Baldier and says to him, "Friend Baldier, we'll get Fitz first."
Baldier looks down the canyon for a second before a small little grin comes over his face. Almost a small sigh of relief coming out. And then wordlessly, he will redirect the wind to start turning the ship to face downstream, preparing it to continue the journey for Fitz.
as Baldier does that, I will keep the ship in place, allowing it to turn, but we don't
Right.
start going. And then I assume it's... Has Duran slept enough at this point?
Yes, he could have gotten a long rest by this point. So
I will go seek Duran, since this seems an appropriate time for me to transition
Yeah.
into a rest.
and very much, the dawn is approaching, and so as is your habit to, take the night watch and let others more suited take the day.
Yes, but I do want to come back on deck with him first
Okay.
and ask a question or two or three. We'll see what happens.
Gotcha. So you hear a knock. You're used to being risen, right before sunrise, so this is not uncommon for Hauron to come find you. Your the tentative relationship that you had in the first days of being the dual navigators, having long sort of fallen at least into the comfort of routine, even if it's not necessarily comfort with each other. So I'll let you all handle that.
Sure. Good morning.
Morning.
That is perhaps more accurate.
Something wrong.
Hauron will take a good look at Duran. The eyes may throw Duran off, and by now Duran may have noticed that they're not moving.
Yeah.
We're not moving.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think certainly.
I didn't hear what you just said.
Oh, sorry. Come up on deck with me.
Very well.
So when we get up, Hauron will simply gesture to the canyon and say, there's a conversation that all of us will need to have once Fitz is safe and Biriana has performed her errand. For the time being, though, I have to ask you, your connection with the sea is different than my own. My magic is primal and tied into this world, but your affinity for the water is unique. Can you sense anything down this canyon of worry, of note?
I can see. What am I looking for?
It is perhaps difficult to say. There is a malevolence that resides at the end of the canyon. Any information we can gather on it now may serve us later. So be careful.
Well, I thought I was the cryptic one. And I'll just kind of focus a little bit and try and see what I can glean.
Okay. Roll me a so your spellcasting attribute plus modifier plus proficiency, so it's probably a charisma saving throw would be the same equivalent, but it's
Yep.
yeah.
27.
On a 27, you sink your will down into the water, into the currents, and just as the path to Volkuran sort of came down the current on you, you sort of ride the current down this canyon, traveling southward, twisting, turning, deep, almost a vertical chasm under the water, where the cliffs come down and then extend vertically down hundreds of feet, almost a cleft, like a giant sword had been struck, cleaving the earth to make this canyon, even though it winds its way southward. And then you round a bend and you see before you where it disappears. A dark cavern looming in front of you. Pure blackness that the water flows into. Again, almost a cleft. The cavern entrance, sort of a split in the mountainside, probably 100, 150 feet high, but still only 75 feet wide. Just this crack in the mountain. As you are flowing down the current, your consciousness getting ever and ever closer to it. Would you like to continue on the current or withdraw?
Oh, I am not gonna back away from anything, as stupid as that sounds.
Okay. Your consciousness slides into the darkness. And there's almost an immediate change. That balm that the water that you felt, perhaps giving you confidence as you rode this current, once you disappear into the shadows, any sort of soothing that came from the water disappears. Those aches in your bones, not worse, just returned. And then, upon your consciousness, as you're being drawn deeper into the darkness, just a skittering sort of shiver across your mind. First one, and then another. Impressions being watched. Multiple sets of eyes as you're drugged forward, deeper. That skittering. Dragging more and more across your mind. The water becoming unnaturally colder. Even your fathomless sight starting to become cut off. The walls, the depths, this space almost becoming unknowable to you, even though you know, if not being able to see it, you should be able to sense it. Until you feel like you are just floating, motionless, in darkness.
I think we'll stop there with that probing and just kind of come out.
As you try to pull away, your consciousness does not immediately return. You feel yourself suspended, like within a web, trapped. I need you to roll me a willpower saving throw.
Oh boy. What's that while I'm at it? 26.
26. You feel yourself trapped there. And there is a bit of panic before almost like a lifeline, that connection to Shimandala asserts itself and pulls you back against the current, out of the darkness, up, back onto deck.
Why do you want to know what is down there?
My people fled that thing to this world, and now it seems to have found at least me. What did you see?
I'm very comfortable in the fathomless depths of this world, and I have never encountered anything like that before. It was endless darkness.
Yes. Well, thank you for looking. I'm sorry that you had to see that.
You still haven't told me what you're looking for. Exactly.
Well, Duran, I would tell you if I knew.
Duran, as the adrenaline fades, I need you to roll me a D100.
Oh, I don't like these at all. 93.
Nice. As you begin to calm, now just sort of up here in your normal attire, sort of your harness, your cloak missing, you feel a pain in your shoulder as a black shape pierces out through your shoulder. But Halran, Duran, as you look at it, it doesn't look like a spike. It is the shape of a black widow spider's leg.
That's not good.
And with that, we're going to end our session. Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed our show this evening. I know our players have had fun. And we're going to go around real quick and meet them, and then we will say goodnight. But first, let's meet our players. Sol, we didn't get to hear a lot from Otrek tonight, but it probably is better to not be on this train.
Yeah, I am very happy to just be an absent witness to this. The storylines are great. I always love these little story arcs and visions and all of that. I'm happy that Otrek is not being dragged into them. I had some great moments in season 1. I am happy that the spotlight isn't on me, because the last time that happened, I was about to become a tasty snack for a primordial dragon. Thank you very much. But no, my name is Sol. I go by Sol's Rolls online. I play Otrek, our battlesmith artificer, who is a lizard folk. And you can find me pretty much everywhere online as Sol's Rolls. Website, Twitter, Twitch, pretty much everywhere.
Next up is Ace.
Hi, I'm Ace. I have lots of thoughts about the last, 30 minutes of what just happened. You can find me at Ace of Sween. Yeah, lots of thoughts.
The man of the episode, Grant.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Grant. Thanks for bearing with this episode, sort of revolving around Howron. I had a lot of fun. I hope other folks did too. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter, do some D&D stuff. I'll put my username in the Twitch chat. Thanks very much.
Next up is Meta.
Hi everyone. I'm Metazoa. My username is Metazoa54321 on Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram. It's just Metazoa on Fanhouse. Yeah, quite a roller coaster of an episode. Very glad that everything is going to be smooth sailing as soon as we get this thing over to Shimandala, right? Yeah. I do a lot of music stuff. Like I compose music. I write music of my own, like pop music, and then I compose just stuff for like stuff.
Great.
I would like to compose for other like shows and stuff, like tabletop shows, but that's kind of like a far off thing, and I'm still crossing my fingers on all that. So hopefully I'll get to do that. But yeah,
Cool.
fun.
Next up is Bird.
Hey folks, I'm Bird. You can find me basically everywhere as Bird versus Plane. Fun to be along on the century-long nightmare torture ride, and yeah, my buddy's got some cool eyes now. So it's a win-win for everybody, I think.
Yeah. Next week we should have Kuma back with us. At least we hope so, that she's feeling better after her broken leg. After their broken leg, I am Tall Squall. You can find me here and on social media and everywhere else as Tall Squall. And as I've mentioned before, down below is a link to our charity that we support, Satchel's Last Resort. Please feel free to donate to them if you'd like to support the station. That's how we do it around here. And I 100% appreciate all of you coming and joining us. And until next time, please gather your friends together and tell a story, because that's what it's all about. Thanks. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.